The Washington Post. I grew up on my mum's lasagna alla bolognese, composed of emerald green spinach noodles layered with robust ground meat sauce and creamy bechamel. To many Italian food lovers, this is the ideal against which all others are measured. But the world of lasagna is wide and diverse, and over the years I've expanded my repertoire. I have a soft spot for classic southern Italian lasagna, that over-the-top concoction that combines meat sauce, sausage or mini meatballs, or both, ricotta and mozzarella. I also love lasagna alla Genovese, a pared-down affair, with pesto taking the place of ragu. Some years ago, in search of a hearty vegetarian lasagna, I came up with a version that alternates roasted mushrooms, sautéed greens and cheese. Lasagna can be traditional, contemporary, regional, seasonal, whimsical, plain or fancy. Its appeal is not in question. The issue is how to make it manageable. A recipe for from-scratch lasagna might be 3 recipes in one: the pasta, the sauce, and the lasagna itself. But just because it's challenging doesn't mean it's inaccessible or not worth the effort. Just break it down into steps and pace yourself. Start with the sauce. Make your own, which will always be better than anything you buy. Making sauce is easy, but it takes time, especially if it's a long-simmered meat sauce. You can do this a couple of days ahead of assembling the lasagna and refrigerate it, or weeks ahead and store it in the freezer. Make the pasta. Mix the dough in the food processor and use a hand crank pasta machine or the pasta rolling attachment of your mixer to roll out the sheets. Cut the lasagna strips and let them sit out for an hour or 2 to partially dry, then stack them and store them in the freezer. I don't recommend leaving lasagna sheets out to dry completely, as they are prone to curling, cracking, and breaking. Is store-bought pasta an option? Marcella Hazen, the grande dame of Italian cooking, wrote that lasagna is never, but simply never, made with anything but homemade pasta dough. I agree with her, but you may not. The answer is, sure, you can use commercial pasta, but the finished lasagna won't be as delicate without those fine sheets. Option 1, look for fresh egg pasta sheets in the refrigerated section of the supermarket. These will be closest to homemade. Option 2, use good quality dried lasagna sheets. Follow the manufacturer's directions for parboiling, and make fewer layers than if using your own homemade pasta. Option 3, no-boil noodles are a last resort, in my opinion. When baked, they have a flabby consistency and no flavor. Assemble. The only onerous part of this step is the parboiling of the pasta, which has to be briefly cooked, plunged into ice water, then laid out. It's messy and tedious, and it's the only point at which I question whether I am wasting my time. There is an ongoing debate as to whether the pasta sheets, whether fresh or store-bought, need to be boiled at all, because they will soften and cook in the oven by absorbing sauce. It depends, of course, on how saucy your sauce is. For example, the no-cook method would not work with Genovese lasagna, which has very little liquid.